YouTube gave me a hard time for releasing part 1 of episode 5 review, so this is my take 2.
Chapter 1. All was yet dark and still.
My darling Otis says he wants to see me. Nay, he must see me, or he shall die from the wanting.
I'm sure talk of his death is somewhat premature.
Georgiana, she is reading a letter from Otis. If you remember, at the end of episode 4, Charles mailed out a letter to Otis on behalf of Georgiana, and now they got a response back from Otis, and you can see Charlotte reading out loud. They are in the room by themselves, and they don't want anyone else to know what's really going on. Clever of Charlotte doing that, and then at the same time you can see how excited and impatient Georgiana is in opening the letter.
We must think of a plan.
It's not going to be easy given you're practically under house arrest.
That's outrageous. I only want to see him for a brief hour or 2. Why is that so wrong?
We'll think of something. Do not despair.
Thankfully, Charlotte had common sense. Keep your voice down. You don't want to have your freedom taken away from you in writing letters secretly to Otis. But you can see the frustration that Georgiana has and the struggle that she's going through, not being able to be with her boyfriend 24/7. It's definitely one of those Romeo Juliet situation, and Charlotte, she's very supportive of this couple, and she's willing to risk anything, including ruining her trust and her friendship with Sydney. She's willing to do anything for her friend Georgiana. It's basically Georgiana is more important than Sydney.
What news of Lord Babington?
None, Aunt. Sorry to disappoint.
Good thing he's been sharing plenty of news with me, then.
You, how?
I have written to him on your behalf.
To what end?
To assure him that you are delighted at his attentiveness.
Esther is going through the process of trying to move on from what happened with her and Edward, and how Edward basically rejected her, friend-zoned her. And now she's not into Lord Babington, and Lady Denham, he brings the topic of Lord Babington back into the conversation. Esther doesn't want to talk about him. She's not in the right headspace to chase after a guy, or even hang out with a guy and get to know him. You can see Lady Denham is taking this seriously, her matchmaking job in trying to pair her niece with a lovely gentleman, but more importantly, a rich guy. And Babington is the Lord, and he does have the money and the fortune to financially support Esther for the rest of her life if they do end up together.
It seems I must take matters into my own hands.
I wish you hadn't have done that. Now I'll appear rude.
Rather late to worry about appearances, Esther. Make yourself presentable, and then you will write to Lord Babington immediately.
Esther gave a look to Edward, and it's that look of oh, you think this is funny? And if he does take this seriously, her relationship with Lord Babington, I'm wondering if a reason of that is to attack back to Edward, letting him know that she does deserve better, and that she finds a better man than Edward, and that a man that will love her honestly, basically showing off oh, this is your loss, I'm with Lord Babington.
To tell him how much you are looking forward to seeing him at the cricket match on Thursday, as I have agreed.
Now she being forced to meet Lord Babington at the cricket game just because of her aunt, and aunt-niece relationship. It's kind of tough. You have to respect your aunt and her wishes, and give this a go and see where it takes you.
Mr. Parker, Mr. Stringer, Mr. Robinson.
Miss Hayward, how splendid to happen upon you like this. Yes, yes, I was sent on a mission by my dear wife with the absolute instruction to fetch you to the river. Come along, my dear.
Mr. Parker was talking to those two men about the wages of the worker. We already know that Tom Parker is having financial issue, but it's really bad to a point where he cannot pay the workers on time. That's like a huge red flag. And Charlotte came over, and of course Tom is covering up because he knows that if Charlotte knows anything, she's gonna tell Mary, and Mary doesn't know anything at the moment.
Good day there, Mr. Stringer.
Nice to see you again, Miss Hayward.
Jane Friend knows that there's something going on between James and Charlotte.
Didn't know that you and Miss Hayward were friendly, James. We've had the odd interesting conversation about architecture. She's very knowledgeable,
Architecture, eh?
Jane, of course, doesn't want to say anything, just in case if his friend or anyone spread a gossip about his friendship with Charlotte. And it's kind of tough a little bit because Charlotte is with this rich family for the summer, and even though she came from a similar childhood like James, she still sees that this like rich girl, but she's not. She's just staying with the Parker family, so it looks like she's living the luxury life, but that is not really who she is inside of her. So there's that different of standard living between James and Charlotte, but James does have his eyes on her. It's very obvious by this point.
I could do far worse. And if I must marry, why not marry a lord?
I think we know the answer to that.
You said yourself I have to consider marriage, did you not?
Did I?
Yes, Edward. You did.
If you look closely to the facial expression on Edward's face, like, oh, did I tell you that? It made me started to question okay, did he really meant what he said to Esther when he told her to find a husband for herself? Or is he half lying and half honest about that statement of finding a husband for herself? We will get to see why I said that as we go on. But Esther is taking his word to heart, and she's moving on. She's done with him in that sense. There's no going back to, being physically intimate with each other. She just we just brother and sister, and there's that.
Every day apart from you, I grow in sadness. And I know that my spirit, my whole self, is not the same when I am not with you.
Voiceovers in shows can be very beneficial. It helps the audience to understand more of what the character is feeling and the situation the character is in, and you can hear the sadness and the struggle in Oldest voice. He misses her so much and can't wait to see her again and be with her. We see her read his letter all the time, every time his letters come in, and that shows that she misses him so much as well. But I did had the second half of the scene, but basically Charlotte came in and told Georgiana that she has an idea to get Georgiana to be with Otis again.
Mr. Parker.
Miss Hayward.
My dear, now I must get back to the terrace. If the men are to have the afternoon off, I should ensure they complete certain tasks beforehand. Mary will be delighted to see you, Sydney.
Charlotte was not happy to see Sydney, and Sydney was annoyed to see her. You can see how he looked at her and then looked away right after that. Tom has no clue what's going on between these two. No one really does, except for James, though, during that walk on the beach that he had with Charlotte after Sydney yelled at her.
I assume you're here for the cricket, Mr. Parker?
Never short of assumptions, Miss Hayward.
Charlotte, like, fine, I'm gonna be the first one to say something, just to break the ice, break the awkward silence between the two of us, and keep the word in mind, assumption. That's becoming a little of a habit that Sydney has. Every time Charlotte talks, or if she ever make an opinion or a comment, like it's like he expecting her to say something that can be judgmental or supportive, positive or negative. So she just had that weird habit of like always believing that she has something wrong to say or have something that is judgmental on what she says about him, for example. She got annoyed for a second there, and she just like, this guy is just like so mean to me and like give me a hard time, and he just doesn't want to listen to me and understand my perspective, especially on what happened between Otis and Georgiana. And Sydney never told her like why he is bitter against Otis.
Well, I was not expecting to see you back so soon.
Believe me, neither was I.
Sydney! What a lovely surprise!
Mary.
Have you seen Tom?
Yes, I just caught him on his way out.
Sydney, like, didn't have to go to the cricket game, but he knows that it means something to his brother.
But if you'll excuse me, I must go and see Mrs. Griffiths. Good day.
I was thrilled he could make it.
You can see that he still aware that Charlotte is in the room. So when he said that he had to leave, he gave recognition to Charlotte, and kind of like in a way that respect her, like, you know, that she's still in the room, and let these two women know that he had to see Mr. Griffith. But you can feel the tension is still there between him and Charlotte, and the look on her face at the end, and she just like, oh my goodness, like finally he left the room.
The responsibility for Miss Lamb's welfare will rest entirely with you from now on. Do you understand?
Oh, I see. Will you be travelling abroad again, Mr. Parker?
Mr. Griffith, you can tell that she really doesn't want to take the full responsibility of guardianship over Georgiana. Georgiana is like not the best foster daughter to have in the house. They both went through the highs and the lows, and keep in mind that Georgiana is a colored woman, and she's living in a house that is basically white people house, and that could bring some challenges for Mr. Griffith down the road. I think Georgiana had 2 more years until she become a mature lady in society.
In the first instance, I'll be at Lord Babington's country estate. After that, I don't know. But what I do know is I will not be returning to Sanditon for the rest of the summer. Accordingly, I've settled Miss Lamb's accounts in full for the entire duration.
She gave him a lot of anxiety and pressure and headache, and I think he was ready to let her go. And he put at Mr. Griffith's house in Sanditon, and he also trusts Mr. Griffith in taking care of Georgiana also, and he can't wait to leave Sanditon and continue his single life. And he mentioned about staying at Lord Babington's house when he talked about that, it really sounded like Lord Babington is truly a lord and that he is rich. He's ready to continue his own personal life and not worry about a little sister, Georgiana. But I think if that is the case, I think Charlotte would be happy that Georgiana stays in Sanditon, just because they becoming good friends. But since Otis is in the picture, we still don't know quite yet what is really going on with Charlotte and Georgiana plan, like how they're gonna get Georgiana to meet Otis again. One more thing, Sydney planned to leave Sanditon, early. I guess earlier than expected. Keep that in the back of your mind in regard to Charlotte. I will bring this up later on, but I was just thinking, like, if he stayed in Sanditon, longer, one of the reasons that is possible would be because he wanted to see Charlotte more and have that interest in her and getting to know her and like her like that in a romantic way. Since he cannot wait to leave Sanditon, it shows that he doesn't have an interest in Charlotte in a romantic way, and he's just ready to go back to his old life before Georgiana came along.
My despicable guardian is here and is going to ruin everything. No, he's not. We do exactly what we agreed. Once the game starts, everyone will be distracted anyway. Listen for the church bells at 4:45 and you and I will sneak off.
We get to hear what the plan is and how Georgiana gonna escape town, and looks like she's going to London to see Otis. Charlotte's supposed to go with her, take the lead and making sure that she escapes safely out of town.
Good day, Miss Anne.
You can see the look that Georgiana gave particularly towards Sydney, because she's like, can't believe Sydney's still in town. She cannot wait for Sydney to leave. I don't think she knows that Sydney is letting go of his responsibility over her. I don't think that has spoken yet, unless I remember wrong. Let me know. But Arthur Parker, he's a jolly guy, and keep that in mind also. Arthur and Georgiana as friends. We will talk more about that in season 2. He's super friendly. And Georgiana, she's just annoyed at the sight of Sydney at the cricket game. But on the other hand, Charlotte, she also gave that mean look to Sydney, and she's just like Georgiana. Like, these two girls have something against Sydney.
Miss Denham, I'm pleased to see you here today. I had no idea you were such a cricket enthusiast.
I'm not. She jests, Lord Babington. Sadly, she lacks my wit.
Yeah. Lord Babington, he has so much patience for her, and I think it's obvious to recognize that, especially in this episode. Esther's still not in the mood. Edward, he's still loving this action that is unfolding in front of him. He's enjoying this. Lady Denham is very supportive of Esther and Lord Babington, and who knows, this might be a good thing for Esther down the road, or it might turn out bad. You won't know until you try, right?
And thank you so much for your letter. I was delighted to finally hear from you.
Esther was delighted to oblige, weren't you, Esther?
Yes, delighted.
Well, that makes 3 of us then.
I wonder if Lord Babington had a clue that Lady Denham wrote him a letter on behalf of Esther, but he knows that this is happening only because of Lady Denham forcing her to meet him and talk to him. But on the other hand, if he really likes her, he would like this plan that Lady Denham had placed in regard to this moment, this scene. He's like, okay, I got her approval. If only Esther loved me back, I would be the most happiest man in the world.
She's positively mirthless. On the contrary, she's the wittiest woman I've ever met.
Esther's facial expression more like annoyed at the situation, but Edward, I feel like that's like the first sign of like his jealousy that started to show up a little bit more. He gonna have his eyes on them, that's for sure.
Miss Denham.
The opposition have come prepared.
At least one team has.
Pay close attention to where Lord Badminton and Esther are. They're like way out in the outer field, like far away from the action of the game. But he did that with a good intention. He just wanted to hang out with her more and get to know her more. Lady Denham saw that and she enjoying it. She happy about it.
Good luck, Mrs. Stringer. Not that you'll need it.
Thank you, Miss Hayward.
You seem to have gathered several admirers already.
I hope you're among them.
Ask me again once I've seen you play.
Charlotte and James, they were a bit flirty with each other in this scene.
Good luck to you too, Mr. Parker. Although I imagine you don't think you'll need it.
You have more assumptions, Miss Hayward?
I'm wondering if Sydney was like watching James and Charlotte interact, wondering if that made him jealous, possibly. But you can see the change of Charlotte's facial expression when she saw Sydney. She's like, oh, him, like why? But out of respect, she's like, she wished him a good luck too, but she made that into a sarcastic comment and like, oh, like, you know, you don't really need it. And Sydney said that word again, assumption. And if you remember that, he said that before Mary Parker came into the room, after Tom Parker left the room earlier in this review. So he said that word assumption again. And Charlotte just like being very annoyed, like very ticked off by that word, and kind of like a label. So every time like, you know, they talk or he sees her, she's like, oh, she's the assumption girl. And it's really annoying for her. And remember the walk that she had with James on the beach last episode, I think? She's like, you know, along the line, she's like, I can't even like express my feelings or my opinions, and Sydney not willing to understand me or try to like understand my perspective from where I'm coming from. Part of me, I'm wondering like, okay, is he really not mad at her anymore, or is he like annoying her with that assumption word as a way to like tease her? And also possibly a reason for that is that he might, you know, like her, that he's still like intrigued by her and her personality and who she is, but he is not recognizing his fault, especially that moment when he raised his voice against her in public in front of James, which was total embarrassment for her. We'll see how this cricket game goes.